So today we've got a problem with the bilge pump. It's been making some really strange noises and it's taken a long time to suck the bilge water up from the bilge. The noise it was making, it was kind of sucking a lot of air, or seemed to be sucking a lot of air. It would start going off at strange times as well. So I suspect the non-return valve isn't working because I think all of the water that's collected up in the pipe is then draining back down and causing it to trigger again. All in all, not a good sign, so I'm going to have to take it apart and take a look what's going on in there. So access is really tricky. It's bolted onto the bulkhead, but the motor actually covers the bolts. What's a bit strange is there is a bit of an adaptation going on here. There's like a reduction pipe here. It goes down from maybe a 38mm to a 25mm or something. Not sure why that is or whether that was done originally. I'm just going to disconnect it by the lower one, so maybe I can take a look in there and see where this leak's coming from. Make sure that Jubilee clip doesn't end up down the bilge. Actually, there's another non-return valve in there. It's wide open, so that's probably part of the problem as well. So I think collectively with the non-return valve in the strum box and the non-return valve in the pump, the water is probably draining back down into the bilge. This is what I could really do with a ratchet spanner. This is going to take forever. Check back in 2 days and I might have this off. That's it. So there you can see even more clearly now how knackered that valve is. I thought it was a Henderson one because there's a Henderson service kit on board. So I'm not even sure what that make is. So I'm just hoping that those diaphragms will fit. Let's see. This looks like a problem as well. The flap looks like it's swelling up and it's catching on the edge there, which means it probably isn't closing properly either. So we've got two valves here that aren't working. I've got a new one in the service kit, so I'll just replace that one. This is weird because this came out that way, but when I've looked in the diagram it looks like it goes that way, and it is a much better fit that way as well. So we'll see how it goes. If it's not, I'll have to take it apart again. The diaphragm actually looks okay. When I first looked at it I couldn't see a thing, but I start bending it around, there it is, and it's amazing how much water can get through that little split. Okay, new one. Talk about that as well. The O-ring from the inspection cap's looking a bit tatty, so I might as well replace that as well. And that there is a much tighter seal. Oh yeah, it's much tighter. Okay. But I also noticed that these old screws are a bit threaded, and I think they've been over tightened a few times. So luckily I found some new ones in the service pack as well. So I think that should stop that little leak that we had before. So what I've done is rigged it up on the back of the helm here and cut some pipes to length. So I've got a bucket of water down here and a sort of return outlet that's going back into the bucket. So the next step is to cut some wires, so I'm going to attach it to the battery. On the Amels we've got a 24 volt system, so the batteries are set up like this. We actually had the batteries replaced last September, so we replaced the old Victron 90 AGMs with 110 AGMs. So to get powers we've moved the terminals as well, so I've got the positive and negative terminals here. So to get 24 volts off I just need to put the crocodile clips on the terminals and then I can run the pump outside. Going to put this on the tester pipe to try it out, but the valve seems to be okay. Seems to be sucking a lot of air, and there's the leak there. Those screw holes, they're not tight, so I need to get some Sikaflex in there to make an airtight seal in it. But at least it's pumping, which it wasn't doing before. I think these valves have been changed that often that these screws, the screw threads are no longer biting in, so it's not forming an airtight seal, so there's water getting out and there's air probably getting in as well. Technically is a valve problem, but it's not actually the valve itself, it's the screws. When I tighten them up here, they do actually get a grip. Maybe I need to support it a bit better underneath, maybe push from the bottom as I'm putting it in, and it might get a grip. I'm just going to put a bit of Sikaflex on those holes. So I'll let that dry for 12 hours because I wanted to get a real good seal, so there's a moment of truth. The top tip for reusing cable ties: if you get a small enough electrical screwdriver, you can just trip the tab in the cable tie and it'll slide straight off. So you've got reusable cable tie.
Right, so today is our favourite maintenance job ever, isn't it, Woody?
Just serviced the bilge pump, and so we've got some of the pipes out anyway, so we thought we might as well carry on and get the rest of the pipes out.
There is one main bilge where all the water goes into. Obviously, because of all the stuff that's going in there, it does get quite disgusting and it builds up soap suds and all sorts of things you can imagine. Obviously the black water goes into its own tank.
Because it's not just a waste bilge, it's got the bonding strap which connects the steel bulb on the bottom of the keel to the rest of the bonding system. So that needs checking as well, because there's a copper strap which runs down inside, and last time we checked it was broken, so we replaced it. So I just want to give that a check as well. But it does mean just scraping out all of the gunk from the bottom of the bilge before we can actually see it. So it's a horrible job, but it has to be done. So we can tick off a few jobs by doing this. By clearing it out, we can check the bonding strap, I can service the bilge pump, and we can clean the bilge as well.
So it's quite awkward. The gap of where it is difficult to get into, and it's quite deep. What are you detaching there?
So this is just the power to the float switch. So when the float switch gets a certain point, it trips it here, and then it kicks the automatic bilge pump going. And then this is a very low-tech float switch. So it's basically a 4-inch waste pipe with a float in the middle, and the float is connected to a line here, and that line is connected to a trip switch there.
Less to break, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, this is the Amel float switch. It's not actually the pump, it's the float switch, but it's all part of the same thing and it makes it work. Works, isn't it, with that?
I'm just mopping out the last of the dregs down the bottom there. So this is our new instrument. We've got a bent wallpaper scraper there and a toilet brush on the other side. So there you can see the bonding strap. It's a bit loose, but it's still in place. So that's the keel bolt, and that's the bonding strap there, connected to it. Got the bonding strap. And there you can see the bottom of the strum box has fallen off the bilge pump. It's not as bad as it was last time, actually. There's the bottom of the strum box. Move that back. A bit of a cable tie there and some twig. I don't know where that's come from. So apart from the screw holes leaking air and water, which was obviously making the pump really inefficient and occasionally not working at all, as the grill had come off the strum box, I think these have been occasionally working themselves into the non-return valve and stopping the water from staying in the pipe. So basically the water was going up the pipe and coming straight back down again, and that will explain why it was only working intermittently. So actually I've made a bit of a discovery. The strum boxes, the whale strum boxes, use the same non-return valve with a square end as the Henderson 5 pumps. Previously I had to buy the whole service kit at €60 in Parma just to get that non-return valve. So basically I can buy a whole one of these for €17 instead of buying the whole service kit for this for €60 and use the non-return valve out of the strum box in this Henderson 5 pump. So that's a bit of a discovery. Save a few quid. I'm just filling the pipe with water. I know it's a self-priming pump, this just helps it on its way, and make sure that the valves don't burn out before it gets water to it. This is the float switch here, so let's give it a try. So thanks for watching. Thanks in particular to our patrons who keep us going. If you found it useful, give the video a thumbs up. If you want to buy me a coffee or beer, I'll be most grateful. You can do that by following the mothership links to the PayPal page or the Patreon page in the description below.